Hello all. So welcome to week 15, our last week of class. We have a discussion board this week where you ask any question that I haven't answered for the duration of the semester. So anything, go ahead and ask anything. In the meantime, I wanted to talk about publishing. So with publishing, there are a couple different focuses of publishing. There's a couple of different forms of publishing. I'm trying to show you a little bit of everything, which means that I won't be focused on any one thing in particular. So consider that as I continue. To publish poems, short stories, excerpts of novels, what else? Creative nonfiction essays, very, very, very short pieces. And when I say very, very short, I mean like 20 pages or smaller. If it's a long short story, if it goes anywhere up to about 70 pages, you could probably still find a market for it in short, although you'll have to specify the word count, not necessarily the page count. But for short pieces, you publish through smaller publications. This is lately mostly online publications. But wait, Kristen, you might say, what if somebody steals my stuff? Won't happen. This is a common fear of the writer who is just getting started. Your fear is that people will read something online, they'll like it, they'll steal it, copy, paste, etc. No, that doesn't happen. And don't let that fear cripple you, because I feel like many young or novice writers are handicapped by that fear and don't get their work out there for that reason. Unfortunately, we are shifting to a world where that is almost entirely how you will publish anything short. But Kristen, you might say, I'll go to Peregrine or I'll go to Barnes & Noble and I'll look in the magazine section and I see, hard copy prints of short stories. Okay, yeah, but those are very, very rare. I mean, you see short stories printed in the New Yorker too, but usually Condé Nast contacts the writer to publish in the New Yorker. So look at online publications. In order to look at those online publications, I highly recommend a little website called duotrope.com. If you go to YouTube, you can kind of hunt around on some of their tutorial videos and kind of get a sense of what it is. Yes, you do have to pay for it. I'm very sorry that you do. But it's worth it. I've been doing it now for a couple years, and I have published in ways that I never would have been familiar with or accessed before. So please consider that. Duotrope, DUOTROPE.com. I think it's like $10. I'm not actually going to quote that because I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't remember if it's $10 a year or $10 a month. But in any case, it's a minimal fee, and it's easy to use. It's very accessible. So consider that for short publication. When you do publish a short piece, you still need to write a query letter. Typically, it'll be through email, and you'll say something like, "Please find attached my short story titled yada 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 at X amount of words. This meets your website guidelines like XYZ, and I think it would be a good fit for your publication." Always visit their website first before you submit something to them, because they expect you to. Especially since everything is available online, they expect you to have read their past issues, which really is a fancy way of saying their website. But they expect you to have looked at that information and accessed that information before you submit. So please do that. If you are looking to publish a longer work, then you have essentially 3 options. Well, okay, let's say 2 options, because one of the options is very rare anymore. But if you want to publish a longer work, this is a novel, this is a memoir. Okay, I'm still going to say your 3 options just because it's easier for me to remember. The first is self-publishing. Self-publishing can be something as fundamental as going to Staples and having your book printed on paper and spirally bound. That can be self-publishing. And if you think of that route of like Staples or Office Max as that kind of publishing, it's easy to then realize what self-publishing is on a marketing level, because self-publishing is the pragmatic name for I'm paying for a book and I'm getting a product out of it, and I am taking out the agent, I'm taking out the editor, I'm taking out, anybody who gets a say in what my product is. Some companies are really good. Blurb is one that my students use here at Tri-City Prep to publish their creative writing anthology. You get 100% control. CreateSpace is another one. 100% control. You create the picture on the cover, you create the font, you create what the book looks like, and you download an editor, and once it looks like you want it to look, you send to print. The only trouble with self-publishing is that it is not distributable to booksellers. If that's important to you, if being in a bookstore is important to you, then I would second guess self-publishing, because the barcode that's on the back, let me just grab a book here so you can see what I'm talking about. But quotes that change your life. Okay, why not? So you look on the back and you see the barcode and you see an ISBN above that barcode. Now, maybe this is a bad example because it says BG reference, because it's clearly a Barnes & Noble bargain book, but this ISBN guarantees that you can be carried in a bookstore. An ISBN is something that the book distributor can access. The book distributor then sends it to the warehouse. The warehouse then sends it to a corporate bookstore. The only exception in that case is, again, someplace like Peregrine, where you take a box of books, you talk to the manager, you say, can you put my books on the shelf? The indie bookseller says, well, yes, we can, but let's be real. At Peregrine, I think I literally have 2 copies of my book on the shelf. And even then, I think I started at like 5 or 10, and they called me after so long and said, these books aren't moving off our shelves, come pick them up. And that's why stores like Barnes & Noble want to be able to carry your book in a distributor and in a warehouse, because they want to be able to send the book back if it doesn't sell. That's the hard part of publishing and writing your own book, is that you want to think that you're going to be Stephen King, or you want to think you're going to be Gillian Flynn, and that your books are just going to fly off the shelves, and that one day you're going to be walking around the Yavapai County Courthouse and see somebody reading on the lawn, and they just happen to be reading your book and they don't actually know you. Sure, it might happen, but the reality is that most books sell because of your direct interaction with that book and with that product. So stores like Peregrine are great because you can arrange to have a signing or arrange to have a reading, and then you can sell books afterward. But stores like Barnes & Noble won't do that unless it's carried in the warehouse. So you want to look for something. It's a keyword called returnable. You want to make sure your book is returnable. Some self-publishing places will allow you to do that. I know CreateSpace, if you pay extra, sometimes they might do that. But to me, I feel like anything that makes you pay extra for the same rights as any other writer, I struggle with that. It's up to you. It's your own decision. It's your own choice. But I don't think that you should ever have to pay money for putting your book out there. This is where the free option of publishing through Amazon comes in. So you can self-publish your ebook on Amazon, not have to pay anything, still have that control over the title and the font and the cover and all of that. But the only downside with that is that, again, you have to find a way to get people to download books. Because whether you make your book free or whether you make your book $3.99 and it makes a list, millions of people are publishing on Amazon every single day. So you have to decide how you're going to get people to download your book. A friend of mine who lives in Indonesia really struggles with this because she self-publishes. I think she uses CreateSpace. But she paid a lot of money for a professional book cover maker and for an editor to make sure she was putting out a really good product. I mean, she paid for a freelance editor, and I do have some contact information of people who I know who do that if you need it. So she paid a lot of money to have a really good product, and yet still it's not exploding. I think we also think that The Martian, the movie that Matt Damon was in, we think of that book as the example of something that exploded as an ebook. Those cases are very rare. It's like winning the lottery. So to self-publish is a viable option. It could cost you money or it could be free depending on what you choose, but I would ask yourself what you want out of it. Is like, by writing books and publishing books, do you only want to see it on the shelves at a bookstore once? Do you want to see it on the shelf at the library? Do you want to hear about people reading it? So ask yourself what your goals are with regard to publishing. Self-publishing is the lower end of the three-pronged spectrum. The second one, which is the one I said that kind of isn't really a thing anymore, is what's called print on demand, where you pitch your book to a publisher. You get a lot of say in cover and in font and title and a lot of that kind of thing. You do not have to have an agent. You do not have to pay to publish it. But the downside is that they only publish like 100 copies. Again, ask yourself what you're looking for, because what's nice about some print-on-demand publishers is they are returnable to stores like Barnes & Noble. So there's an advantage there. The disadvantage is that they won't print the next round of books until you sell the first 100. So that's something to think about. And then the creme de la creme is a traditional publisher. They now call it the Three Sisters because almost every imprint publisher is owned by one of three companies being Random House, HarperCollins, or Penguin. Those three big companies own all of the smaller publishers and smaller companies now. But they still have a lot of independent say. And what happens is when you want to publish with a big publisher, you send a query letter to an agent. You say, this is my book. These are the nuts and bolts facts about what my book is. Are you interested? Then the agent messages you back based on the content of your query. Then the agent says, yes, I'm interested, or no, I'm not. Then you send your manuscript to the agent. The agent says, wow, this is amazing, let's sign you on. And then the agent queries the publishers. Once the agent starts querying the publishers, that's when you start to see that everybody in publishing knows everybody. Because usually the agents are people who used to work as editors in the publishing houses. They specialize in small sections or small genres of what they're good at. And what they're looking for, both your agent and the agent pitching to the editor at the publishing house, they're looking for something called a comp. And a comp is comparable titles. So when you query an agent, already know off the top of your head what your comps are. What would your book sit on the shelf next to? So for example, I wouldn't say that my writing should sit on the shelf next to J.K. Rowling because, I don't write about wizards and my writing style is entirely different from hers. This is where reading widely in modern literature is helpful to you because publishers and agents do not want to hear